Alright, welcome back guys. Today is not going to be a guide video or anything. This is going to be like a discussion video. And I'm making this because I've gotten some messages from people on Discord asking me what do I think of Smilegate and Epic 7 and the state of the game, etc, etc. A few of them like railed on Smilegate and I guess expected me to agree with them, but I didn't. And I thought I'd just make this video to kind of publicize my personal thoughts on Smilegate as a company, Epic 7 as a game, and kind of have like a reasonable discussion with like criticisms and, you know, understanding why they do some of the things that they do. So this isn't a guide video, but as always, I'm still going to break it down into topics. So topic number 1 will be, let's remember that Smilegate is a business. Number 2 is the game being hard is what keeps you going. Number 3 is, let's discuss the game costing too much to play. Number 4, let's discuss the idea that SG doesn't care about F2P players. Number 5, we're going to talk about Molagoras, because everyone loves to complain about Molagoras. And number 6, we're going to talk about things that I think can be improved regardless. And the last thing will just be for you guys, for you to leave comments about your own thoughts in the comment section of this video. So let's get started. So topic number 1 is, let's remember that Smilegate is a business. People seem to have a lot of trouble grasping this. Yes, for us, Epic 7 is a game for fun. For Smilegate, it is a business. They need to make money to make more content. If you look at the official Epic 7 Stow forums, it's really just a bunch of 5-year-olds constantly crying, "Wah! Why didn't you give us 10 ML5 selectors? Everything's so hard, why?" And they're just crying all the time. Well, guess what? Let's say Smilegate listened and said, you know what? You're right, ML5s are not fair. We're going to give everyone all the ML5s. Well, if they actually did that, no one would care about the game anymore. Smilegate would go broke. The game would be shut down, so that wouldn't help you, that wouldn't help me, that wouldn't help Smilegate, so that's why they don't do it. It doesn't make any sense. Now, these numbers are not supported by facts, so if someone has actual numbers, feel free to put in the comments below, but my best guess is that less than 3 to 5% of the E7 population are true whales, as in they've spent more than a few thousand on the game. I imagine the other 10% of the E7 population are dolphins, where they buy the occasional, you know, leaf pack, maybe they do the monthlies, and occasionally like the $100 special event packs that are a pretty good steal, and that's kind of where I lie, but I'd say the other 80 to 90% of the players pay absolutely nothing. So the vast majority of the E7 population has not spent a dime supporting SG, and that's pretty typical for these kind of gacha games. So before blindly criticizing SG, it's important to look at it from their perspective. As a player, we're always thinking, oh, this change is bad for me, blah, blah, blah. But we should also consider from the context of making players happy while also supporting a viable business, is this a fair choice? And I'd say in that more reasonable context, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, Smilegate's decisions have been fairly reasonable. So before saying that Smilegate's a dick and they're just trying to annoy us all of the time, I think we have to remember, the point of this is we have to remember that they have to make some money, guys. Like, they have developers, they have artists, you know, they don't just do it for free, right? They have jobs over there in Korea. They need to be able to feed their families. So let's always keep that in mind. Let's move on. Topic number 2 is, the game being hard is what keeps you going. Because I get this a lot, like people saying it's too hard to 6-star heroes, it's too hard to build units, gear is too much of a nightmare to get, and it's true. I'm not disagreeing with that. That's absolutely true. But I think another big part of it is that difficulty is what a lot of us like about the game. Now, gacha games in particular typically allure a specific kind of gamer, and I know this because I'm in this category. Gacha gamers a lot of the times are gamblers at heart. They love the chance. If you don't like gambling, you will never like a gacha game, because the idea of not getting the thing you want and it holding you back is just going to piss you off. But I mean, I'm a gambler. I've spent more time in casinos than I care to admit, and that is why I've always loved Epic 7. And when people complain that stuff is too hard to get, it's that excitement that people really actually like. Even though they don't know it, that's what they want. Like the chance that they might get that ML5 every time they click this little button here, this is what keeps them coming back to the game. This is what makes them like jump for joy and shout when they actually finally get what they want. And I think another thing that people often forget is that this is an Asian game. Smilegate is a Korean company. Asians are accustomed to grinding, they expect it, and they like it. It's very different from Western games, which is why a lot of like Japanese companies will dumb down the Western versions of games, because for the most part, Westerners consider grinding hunts and stuff a pointless waste of time, and it ruins their experience. For Asians, the grinding is almost a badge of honor. Like when they release Western-style games in Asia, they reject it because they get bored because it's too easy to get everything. It's a massive cultural difference, and that's another thing we have to keep in mind. So let's say stuff was easier to get in this game. Let's use, you guys remember the guild Ambition back in the day? They were like a rank 1 guild not even a year ago. They had the best players, the best gear, and then suddenly they disbanded. Now there might have been some like secret reasons or Discord why they actually broke up, but their official reason was that they were bored of the game. And why do you think they were bored? It's because they were the best players. They had the best gear. They could full clear any other guild effortlessly. They lost all reason to play because this is the situation that most of us are in. We go on YouTube, we watch like the YDs or the Tenhas or whatever, and we see the ridiculous stats and we play because we're like, one day we want to have those heroes. But if you are that person and you have all that stuff, what do you care? You have no goal in the game anymore, and that's when you quit. That's why Ambition just dropped the game. They were like, yeah, new heroes came out, but we already have every hero that we need to beat everybody, so what do we care? They didn't care anymore. So, yes, the game is hard, but I think if it was easier, some people would like it for sure, but a lot of people would also drop the game because it would shorten the amount of progression that's available in the game. They would get everything really quickly, and then they would get bored, and they would move on to other things. So I think we have to understand that Smilegate making things hard to get is completely intentional. They're not just tuning it for the average player. For the average player, getting gear, blah, 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 is incredibly, incredibly hard. But they have to tune it to also keep the whales interested. The stupid whales playing 20 hours a day on hunts, buying out the pack store. They need to find some way to make sure that they don't hit the limit too fast. For example, a lot of people suggested they release a system that guarantees rolls into a sub they want for a set cost. The problem is, for the most of the players, it wouldn't matter that much, but for the whales, they would find a way to have full sets of perfect gear within like a month, and then they would be bored again. So RNG is Smilegate's greatest weapon in stopping people from progressing too fast. It's why it's such a big part of this game, and it pisses all of us off. But we have to get why they're doing that, because they need to keep the grind going to make the game not get too stale too quickly. Let's move on. Topic number 3 is the game costs too much to play. I don't agree with this at all. The game costs nothing to play. Let me save you some time. If you are a new player and your goal is to be the best player in the world in the next 6 months without spending a time, then just quit. It's not happening. In fact, even if you whale, it's not happening. Now, but if you're a new player and you just want to have a fun time, progress, make it into mid or high champion, which is still probably like top 10 percentile of Epic 7 players, without spending a single dime, then play. You're going to have a good time, and if you join a guild, maybe you'll meet some cool people. It's about what your expectations are. People complain that they can't be the best in a month without spending a dime. Like, no shit, Sherlock. That is intentional. If it was that easy, how would SG ever make any money going back to point number 1? Like, you do not have to buy any of these things to progress in the game. Like, if you don't believe me, go watch what's his face, Astronax. He has a pretty legit account, and supposedly he's never bought anything, and he has a crap ton of resources. If you play efficiently, you can get to a pretty high state without spending a dime. The main thing I would say is buy these two. It's the best bang for the buck, but if you don't want to even do that, fine, don't buy that. Like, I don't buy Leaf packs. My Mystic packs are all over here. You don't really have to buy much in this game to be competitive. I think another big part about it is a lot of people have a prejudice against paying for gacha games. They'll say like, lol, you spent $100 for a bunch of code, you're an idiot. And it's like, yeah, I mean, that's true, but welcome to 90% of what we buy in real life. You go out to watch a movie, what do you walk out with? Nothing. I go out to a bar and buy a couple of drinks, well, what do I walk out with? Nothing, a hangover. You go bowling with the buddies, what do you walk out with? Nothing. But no one seems to make fun of those expenses, right? Guess what? Most things that are entertainment, you pay and get nothing in return. The entertainment is what you're paying for. And in the context of actual money, when I look at what I spent on Epic 7 compared to the hours of time I've spent on it, it is by far the cheapest thing per hour that I pay for. I live in the Upper East Coast. If I meet my buddies at the bar and I have to take an Uber and I get maybe like 2 or 3 drinks, that is easily $100. And usually I'll get there at like 10 and be gone by like 2. So for 4 hours, I spent $100+ to have that time. For a while, I bought nothing but these 2 monthly packs in Epic 7 and was probably playing the game for like 20, 30+ hours a month. So in terms of breaking it down into dollars per whatever hour, this is probably the cheapest form of entertainment you can actually pay for. But again, if you don't want to pay for anything at all, that's fine too, and you can do it. Just be reasonable about your expectations. If you want to be an F2P player and get to mid-high champion, that is a perfectly reasonable goal. But don't be mad that you're looking at these $20,000 whale accounts on YouTube and your account doesn't look the same as an F2P player. It's not supposed to. The money has to give the whales some advantage, otherwise there'd be no reason for them to ever buy packs, and SG, again, would be broke. Let's move on. Topic number 4 is SG doesn't care about F2P players. This is something I've heard several times, and it's just not true. It's abjectly false. SG cares very much about F2P players. Now, logically, this seems weird, right? Because for a true F2P player, monetarily, they're certainly contributing nothing to Smilegate. But the thing is, population is important. Without F2P players, if all the F2P players quit, there would also be no whales, because it would be a dead game. Again, if you go back to my previous point, the vast majority of players are F2P. So no one wants to play a dead game. No one wants to compete against the same 200 people all the time. So Smilegate has to keep F2P players happy as well. Remember back then in the when everyone was up in an uproar and it brought Epic 7's rating down to like 2 or something on the Android store? Smilegate acted real quick when that happened, right? Or the Korean player outrage before that, SG took some very quick action then as well. They took real quick action, right? Because they didn't want all the F2P players to quit. If they really didn't care about F2P players, they would have just said, go ahead, screw off. Now, if you think about it, that's a really tough job that Smilegate has, because it's a delicate balancing act, right? They need to keep people buying these packs somehow, and they know not everyone's going to do it. So they need to find a way to keep the whales happy and make the packs reasonable enough to kind of motivate them to buy it, while also not giving them too much of an advantage that F2P players consider the game too pay to win. So that's a delicate balancing act, and in my opinion, for the most part, SG has done a pretty decent job, because let's look at some of these packs, like $100 for 1400 Mystic Medals. Like, you're getting a decent number of Mystic Medals, right? But it's $100. Like, you have to, it's not like for a whale to have a huge advantage over you, they have to spend so much money. Basically, this is saying a whale has to spend $600 to get an ML5, right? That's basically what it means. And other games are much more pay to win, in my opinion, because the advantage is so cheap. Like, I was playing 7 Deadly Sins a little while back. I already quit that, but Basically, I remember like their equivalent of awakening a hero, it would have taken like a month of grinding, or you could buy this thing for 15 bucks that immediately maxes out your character. So to me, that was more pay to win because the pack was just so much more efficient than actually playing the game, where I was like, okay, I feel like no reason to play this game anymore because I could just go work at McDonald's for 2 hours and get rid of a month of grinding, right? So Epic 7 does a pretty good job in the sense that the packs are never really that great. Probably the $100 special limited ones are the best ones, and even then they're like okay. So the amount of advantage you get for whaling is not that good, and in a way that's actually very F2P friendly. So ultimately, yeah, Smilegate cares about F2P players, guys. Yes, the whales have an advantage. They are supposed to. Again, if the whales had no advantage, the game wouldn't exist because there would be no reason to ever buy anything. But it's not that bad compared to some other games like, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Ragnarok Online, but there used to be like private servers where if you paid them, they would give you like items that literally you couldn't get anywhere else and they were super broken. Like, that was super pay to win. Epic 7, for the most part, is still pay to win, but for it to be pay to win, you're talking like thousands of dollars to get a huge advantage, so take that with a grain of salt. Alright, let's move on. Topic number 5. Let's talk about Molagoras, the most hated resource in all of Epic 7. I actually have a decent amount now because of that friendship refund or whatever, but you know, usually we're all starved on Molagoras, and we love to complain about it. But before we complain too much, let's try and understand why is it like this? Now, for certain heroes, Molagoras are mandatory. Usually DPS characters, you really need those damage mods. So things like Bruisers, you typically have to plus 15 them to make them competitive at the high end. On the other end, you have heroes like Rowana, I put some Molas into her, or Sinful Angie, where they're great heroes and they can essentially do their job without any Molas at all. But the point is, Molas are hard to get. You can get maybe 4 reliable Molas a week from the shop, maybe a little bit more because the side stories and the banners always have one. But the point is, it takes more than a month to fully Mola a single hero as F2P. So it is by far the hardest resource to get in the game. Now let's understand why it's like this. Molagoras are a time-gated resource. Everyone gets that, and it's really the only time-gated resource in the game. Everything else could theoretically be farmed as long as you're willing to whale for energy. So why do time gates exist? The funny thing is, it's actually to help F2P players. Now, I know you're going to say there are Mola packs. Yes, I get that. But the thing is, the time gates are a way to stop people from progressing too fast. Again, if we go back to Invention, like, Smilegate does not want players to be able to quote-unquote beat the game too quickly. That is why Molas are a time gate, because you're always going to want to build and play with that new hero. If you could max it out instantly every single time, that stops you from doing the things they want you to do, like grinding hunts, doing adventure, etc., etc. So in a way, it's catered to F2P players because it stops the whales from getting too big of a lead on F2P players. Let's put it in math terms. I think the Mola pack comes out once a month, and it's what, like 18 Molas or something, right? Or is it 9? I think it's 9, or I don't know. But the point is basically you take that amount, let's say it's 15, whatever it is, and multiply it by 12. So they can get like 180 more Molas than you a year. So that's pretty big, right? At the same time, it's like 5 maxed out heroes in an entire year. So really, it's a way, like everything else, they can do 100 times more hunts than an F2P player can, like literally 100 times more. But Molas, they can only have fractionally more. At best, they'll have like twice as many Molas as an F2P player. So it really kind of keeps whales and F2P players in line. Now let's talk about some other things with Molas. What are the problems that the Mola system creates? Well, it makes it virtually impossible for new players to catch up without whaling. It takes too long, especially with RTA, because with RTA, having a big roster is actually important to deal with counters and stuff, and F2P players simply can't catch up quickly. That's going to be a fact. Regular Arena is not so bad, because regular Arena you're going to have a few set offenses and defenses, and even an F2P player using all the Molas from Adventure and stuff should be able to max Mola like 10 to 12 core heroes. So regular Arena, not so bad. The other big problem with Molas is it makes the meta stale, because it stops experimentation, right? Because no one wants to invest a bunch of Molas into a hero just to find out that they suck, which is why everyone keeps going to the same meta heroes, like the Liliuses, the Chaerons, the SSBs, the Alencias, because these are tried and true heroes that are low risk in terms of wasting Molas. So those are the problems. The other problem is that a lot of new heroes are dead on arrival because no one has the actual Molas to try them out. So when they release something like Sinful Angie, not a big deal, you can use them without Molas. But if they release a new Bruiser, I mean, to use them to their full potential, again, you need to plus 15 them. So a lot of new heroes are dead on arrival. Things they have done. They gave us 1 extra Mola a week for Silver Transmit Stones, that's good. They gave us some unreliable sources of Mola like World Boss or Hoochie Shop, whatever. And they let you buy more Mola packs. Lol. Now let's talk about things that I think they could do. You can either keep the system the same, but actually keep on releasing heroes that have low Mola requirements. I'm talking about things like Sinful Angie, where you literally need no Molas in her. Things like Rowana, where most people have no Molas in her. I put 6 into her because I use her a lot now. But kind of let people experiment with new heroes without feeling bad because they're not max Mola'd. That's one way. Another way that I think would be a good idea is let you recall Molas from a hero for a steep, non-time gated fee. Because I think this is win-win. Because it keeps the total number of Molas in circulation the same, right? Like, let's say I never use Charles. You know what? Let's talk about Luna, because a lot of people are pissed that they put Molas into Luna. I only have 2 in her. Let's say that you have a plus 15 Luna and you literally never use her anymore because she sucks. Let them recall the Molas and charge them like 500, 1,000, whatever, that amount of Sky Stones. So the actual total number of Molas in circulation stays the same, but it also burns resources from players so that they're forced to, if they have no discipline, forced to buy more packs later on to refresh their Sky Stone stores. So it's a win-win. It gets rid of resources for Smilegate, keeps the Molas in circulation the same, but it gets rid of the Mola anxiety when people are trying to test out new heroes. They don't have to worry. They know that at least they can get them back even if they have to pay. I think it would help the meta because people wouldn't be so scared to experiment with new heroes, so worried that they're investing in a trash hero, and we'd see more fun comps instead of seeing the same 15, 20 heroes in high-end RTA all the time. So those are my thoughts on the Mola system. I mean, I think the point is we should all understand why SG has a time gate in place. It's to make sure people don't progress too fast, while also acknowledging that it does create problems for the meta having that in there. Let's move on. All right, now let's talk about some simple things that I think Smilegate can do anyway to make the game better. Like the few complaints that I have. Stupid quality of life improvements like equipment slots and hero slots. Like, I am so sick of having to sell stuff in my inventory. Can you just make this 1,000? I'll give you the Sky Stones. Just make it bigger. Like, I have like fodder with gear on it because if you guys didn't know, equipment that's equipped doesn't count towards this total. But it's such a stupid waste of time. Like, I don't want to have to keep equipping fodder and useless like 5-star heroes with equipment to make more space. It's just annoying. Get rid of it. Same thing with the heroes. I'm constantly having to stop auto-battling because I get too much fodder and it's annoying. Like, they have the waiting room now. It helps a little bit, but that one's pretty much maxed out for me too. It's just annoying. Like, is there some kind of huge system limitation? Just make it bigger. We'll give you the Sky Stones, make it bigger. Please. Number 2, add a freaking artifact pity system. I don't care what it is. If you want to make it more than the pity for the hero, or you pick which one you're going for, fine. Like, I went for this thing recently, didn't get it. Everyone has a horror story about Reingars. Do not punish us for wanting the artifact. Like, there There's a person out there that's pitied SSB 5 times and didn't get Reingars. That is complete BS. Or let them trade the 5-star hero in for the artifact. I don't care what it is, but there needs to be an artifact pity system. This is especially if you're going to do limited artifacts. If there were no limited artifacts in the game, maybe it'd be more tolerable. But with limited artifacts in the game, stop trying to bankrupt players and troll them by not having an artifact pity system. Just add it. Number 3 is for new content, please make compelling content instead of filler content. This is a big thing for me. Let's talk about what I mean by filler content. The best example for me of filler content is this thing. It's trash content. Expeditions are a little bit better because they're kind of hard if you want to do level 3s. But to me, this is still filler content. What do I mean by filler content? Filler content to me is stuff that you just auto and it's a checklist of things that you have to do and it's boring as all hell. Having to do labs every week at this point is incredibly tedious. Having to do world boss is just a bunch of extra clicks. That's tedious. Expeditions, they take forever to do. It's tedious. I just auto all of them anyway. Pretty much everyone does. Like, it's just boring, lazy content. Now let's talk about compelling content. RTA is probably the best thing SG has ever done. Now, I understand that a lot of you guys don't like RTA, and that's fine. But the thing is, it's still fun, exciting content. For the people who love it, they really love it, and it's really exciting and fun to compete with other people live, and it's fun. Hall of Trials is kind of middle of the range. Like, it's okay, it's kind of competitive. I get that it's good for PvE players if you actually care about your point total, because you could try creative things to bump that point number up. This is kind of okay. But the point is, filler content where we just have to do it every month and auto it, stop releasing that crap. It is boring, and it just keeps adding to a huge list of things we have to do on a monthly basis that we don't care about. Sorry, that topic gets me worked up. So what can they do next? Well, obviously as developers, that's up to them. But let's talk about kind of things that are actually compelling. I don't know about you guys. Oh, Automation Tower is another example of boring, lazy content no one cares about. But Abyss to me was the gold standard of compelling PvE content. It pissed me off to no end, especially when I was a new player, because it pissed me off when I'd get stuck on a floor and I'd be like, I must be retarded that I can't pass this. But eventually, when you passed it, it actually gave you a sense of accomplishment. The rewards were great, the rewards were fair, and it was fun. Like, it was a goal to set out for. They need to keep releasing Abyss floors that are hard. It's okay, like they could force you to build certain heroes to make it work, whatever. And it's always cool to me to see the unique comps that people make, whether it be like meme CR push comps or whatever, to beat these kind of challenges. To me, Abyss was very compelling content that was challenging and fun and had nice rewards to boot. So they can do kind of stuff like that to make the game more fun, give it more content without continually just releasing things that we have to keep autoing for no reason, just to check it off a checklist. And number 4, a lot of you guys might not know this, but can you guys please let people restore accounts if they get hacked? This didn't personally happen to me, but it happened to one of my guildies, and I think it's stupid. Apparently, SG never restores accounts no matter what. This is ridiculous, and it makes no sense. For the record, the guy who got banned, who was my friend, was actually a turbo whale. So from a business perspective, they should have brought his account back because he was spending a lot of money. But I think the reason why it bothers me is because they clearly have the data to do it. They can literally find out, like based on recalls and stuff, what heroes you pulled. So clearly they have records of your account. So I used to play World of Warcraft. If you got hacked playing World of Warcraft, it was no big deal. Basically, you proved ownership of the account and whatever credit card you used to pay for it, and took like a day or two, and they gave you back your account. Made perfect sense, right? Take very good care of your account, guys, because basically if you get hacked, someone hacks you somehow, you are effed. You are effed. You will never get that account back. And to me, that's pretty scary. And another thing, make sure you guys link your account to something, because a lot of people play on guest accounts. And if you get a new phone or something, you're going to lose your entire account. So make sure you link it to like your Facebook, Gmail, whatever. But that's a very minor thing that doesn't impact most people, but I still think it's stupid that a big company like Smilegate can't even do something so basic in terms of customer support. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so that's basically the end of the video. So the last topic is, what do you think of Smilegate and Epic 7? Now you know what my personal opinion is on Smilegate as a company and Epic 7 as a game, the state of the game. What do you think? Do you guys disagree with me? Do you think they should make it much easier? Do you think it's too easy? Do you think Smilegate should die in a fire? I don't know. But feel free to put your own opinions in the comment section below, because I think it'd be interesting to see what the overall community thinks of the game. Because I think one reality is, if you guys are watching this video, you probably enjoy Epic 7, right? Because I don't know of anyone who hates a game that's still watching videos about it. That doesn't mean that you have to like everything about it, but why don't you share what you like, what you don't like, and what your own personal opinions are. But that's my own stance on SG as a company, Epic 7 as a game. Obviously, I love it, and I hope you enjoyed hearing a squirrel rant about it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Till next time, boys. Peace out.